this session. So welcome to Raising Secure Kids in a VUCA World. I am really excited that you're part of the session. And I'm actually sitting in my kids' room. I have my daughter's room. We have my husband working from home. I have varsity students studying and doing online tests. So I'm sure all of us with lockdown have had to adapt. So yeah, it's just exciting that we could do this and do technology and use it for good. Again, I'd love your interaction and comments and questions. So please feel free to make comments in the comment box, or put up your hand or unmute yourself. You're welcome to ask me questions as we go along. So I just want to share the screen. So we're speaking about parenting world changes. How do we do that? How do we get it going? And first off, I want to just say thank you for giving me your time from your busy schedule. I know that all of us have different things on, and I really appreciate you giving me that time. So who am I? I'm Mandy Hart. I don't know many of you today, but I empower parents to raise world changes. It's an intentional journey of parenting and of transformation in not only your life, but in the life of your family. I've been involved in family kind of life, family work, family ministry for over 20 years. I've traveled to probably 20, 30 countries. I've worked across 4 continents. I've done work in the Middle East. I've done work in Scotland, in Thailand, Mozambique, in townships, Madagascar, Ghana, Kenya. I've written 4 books, 2 parenting ones, Parenting with Courage, Parenting World Changes, a parenting journal, and then one called Courage in the Fire, Overcoming a Fear-Driven Life. But that's another story. And I create and run courses. I'm a certified counselor and coach. And but most of all, I'm a wife. And I'm a mom to 2 teens. And since my children were young, I've intentionally been on a journey to learn and to grow. I've been coached myself. I've been on parenting courses. But along the way, I think what grew in my heart was a dream to raise children that could impact the world around us. I think more than ever, if we look at what's happening in the world, we realize we need to raise children that can really, really change this world. So how do you think the world has changed over the past 10 years or even the past 6 months? I mean, it's just changed drastically. If you think about what's different now compared with what was, what life was like in 2019, everything is different. Even 10 years ago, regarding the internet, artificial intelligence, all those things, everything is different. So we're going to speak about digital boundaries. We're going to speak about what is a VUCA world. And so by the end of this webinar, you're going to come away with a fresh strategy on how to raise confident children. You're going to understand the world we're living in, and hopefully I'll impart courage and confidence in you to parent and live with less stress and have more peace, and understand a VUCA world. So some of you might be familiar with the term, some of you might not, but I'm going to explore that. So this is where a VUCA world comes into play. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So there's no better time than now to raise a generation of world changers. We need a fresh breed, I believe, of leaders that need to emerge in this world. And I don't know all of your family lives, but you're raising them. Right now, they're in your home, whether they're in your tummy, in your arms, or you've got varsity students like I have in the kitchen preparing lunch. You've got them right in your home, the next generation of leaders. Most parents don't think about their parenting style. They don't even think of how the world is now. They just start to parent, and they realize that they're actually sometimes parenting the way their parents parented, and they just don't know how to react. I've done a course with Working for Living for the moms or the women and the dads that come on the course. And they said one of the things they realized that they learned on the course was how to parent with a long-term vision, to parent with the end in mind. It was something that they never thought about. But at the end of this webinar, what I'm going to also give you is just a gift for giving me the gift of your time, is a short ebook on how to speak to your kids. It's something I speak about in Parenting World Changes as well, but how you can have intentional talk time with your kids. So as I mentioned before, I empower parents. So I run parenting courses, and I help parents raise confident children. So whether you join me on a course at some stage or not, I just thought I wanted to share with you just 6 strategies that I think you need to make sure you have in your life. Is how to understand the heart of intentional parenting, because your kids are going to grow up, whether you like it or not, they're growing. How to interpret and adapt through the ages and stages that they go through. How to discipline with consistency, while you still build trust and maintain relationship. How you can raise children with dynamic communication. We need to learn how to communicate really well as our kids get older. How to develop a parenting and family vision. If you don't parent with the end in mind, you start to end up parenting reactively. And sixth, how to raise and release confident, secure children in a world where they can thrive. I think more than ever, we need that. So today we're going to talk about a VUCA world, how to parent in that landscape. So maybe just give me a thumbs up because I can't see any of your faces. But are you with me? Are you guys ready? Just kind of give me an indication that you're tracking with me and we can get started into what is a VUCA world. Oh, good. Thank you so much. So the VUCA world, the term was first used in 1987, and it describes a world that is in constant chaos. It speaks about a world where there's so much unpredictability. So we're living in an age of too much. In 1 Chronicles 12, there's a passage where it speaks about the sons of Issachar knew their times and had perceived correctly what those times were about, and then they knew what to do. So they understood what was happening. The reason I mention this is that we need to do the same as parents. We need to understand the times, we need to discern it, we need to know what is going on around the world, and we need to know how to respond and how to react accordingly. So what is a VUCA world? I think, let me just share the screen so you can actually see the next slide just to help you kind of get it in your head. So VUCA world is a volatile world. Volatile refers to the speed of change. The more volatile things are, the quicker things change. So let's think about it in the parenting space, because that's what I'm speaking into right now. The makeup of family is different. The LGBTQ plus movement affects the whole way we view family. We don't even need, in terms of having children, everything is volatile. I don't know if any of you saw the news of a man that was giving birth in the US. He's giving birth to his second child, and just how that makes things just so much more complex. There's a whole bunch of global movements on at the moment, and it just makes things very volatile. So think of a chemical reaction. The more heat you put under something, the quicker it sparks and reacts. That's what a volatile world is. Think about the context of where you're living. Now, I don't know which countries all of you are from, but think about your own context of the culture you're living in and where you're from and how that affects your life. Uncertainty, so that's the U in VUCA. It stands for how confidently we can predict the future. The more uncertain things are, the harder we can predict the future. Let's take it into the parenting and family space. What is the economy like, our home life, educational factors? I know in South Africa, my daughter's writing matric, and the whole uncertainty around the educational sphere, the peer pressures, the inequalities, all these things produce an uncertain world. Complexity. So those are the number of factors we take into account and the relationships between them and how they all affect one another. So to best explain complexity, I often use the analogy of a chocolate cake. So who likes chocolate cake? I know I do. And so I baked a chocolate cake on Sunday, and we have eggs and flour, we have cocoa, we have some hot water, I have baking powder, some sugar, a whole bunch of things. They're all separate ingredients. I put them together, beat it all up, bake it in the oven, and out pops chocolate cake. It's just delicious. But if I want to take it apart again, I can't. I can't take the eggs out and put them back in their shell, or the flour, or separate the cocoa. It's complex. Whereas a motorbike is complicated, but I can take all the parts apart, lay my motorbike on the ground, and then obviously with some skill, put the motorbike back together, and that's complicated. You see, the two are different. So when I'm baking a cake, the eggs and the baking powder affect the flour, which the heat affects everything, and they all have a relationship with one another. That is complex. So think of the world and everything that's going on right now. How complex is things, and ambiguous. So ambiguity speaks about a lack of clarity, how we interpret something, where the information is incomplete. It's not there anymore. Nothing is fully clear. Again, think about it in this parenting space and how often we see things that are quite incomplete, and we don't know what's available, what isn't. We're not sure how to handle that. So it's really hard to parent when the threats are very real. And in a time of VUCA, we need a new skill set, and that's hopefully what I'm going to give to you today. You'll come away with a fresh skill set once you having understood how the VUCA world is that we're raising our kids in. So we need to consider intentional parenting, how to parent on purpose, and we need to consider all the factors and use wisdom. So what I'm going to do is give you 5 ways to interpret a VUCA world, and then I'm going to give you 4 ways to overcome a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, and all within 15 minutes, guys. So I hope you're hanging on. But the first way is breathe. So what I'd like you to teach you is just this breathing technique, which you could use not only when you feel overwhelmed and stressed and uncertain about how everything is going on in the world, but just when you need to teach your kids, look, hang on, this is where we're at. So now all of you have taken your screens off, so I can't see you, and now hopefully you're going to do this exercise with me, but please put up your hand. And what I'd like you to do is breathe in as you go up your pinky and breathe out through your mouth when you come down. Breathe in as you go up and breathe out as you go down. Breathe in as you go up your middle finger and out as you go down. In, out, and then you work your way all the way through. So this Take 5 breathing technique is really such a great skill that will not only calm your heart rate down, it will calm your blood pressure, but it also will help you just focus and think. And in a VUCA world, often we just feel so bombarded and feel so overwhelmed that sometimes we need to learn how to breathe. Secondly, I want to speak to you about your screen time. Be educated, but really screen the news. So have a growth mindset. Figure out how you're going to help your children develop a growth mindset, but be careful what you listen to. Be careful what you focus on, because in a VUCA world where things are volatile, we can read the news, we can go on social media, and suddenly we start feeling a bit more anxious and we're not sure what to believe and what's true and what's not. Thirdly, celebrate moments of connection and practice active listening with your children. I really want to encourage you. That's a skill that I actually teach on the parenting course. But work at connecting with your kids. Speak their love languages. Fourthly, develop an intentional parenting plan with steps to overcome VUCA. And this is what I'm actually going to give you now. So you could formulate a short plan now. And when you come off this webinar, start to implement 1 or 2 of the things that I teach. You'll see the stress levels will reduce. And you'll be able to interpret the times we're living in and help your family to thrive. Fifthly, in a VUCA world, parents, and here I'm speaking to each of you, mums and dads, and if you're caring for your grandkids or whatever, aunts, uncles, we need extra grit and we need extra self-care. Now, self-care is a term that I know gets thrown around all over the place right now. It's really a popular term, but often as parents, we neglect ourselves. We put so much time and effort into our family and work and everything else that we end up being last on the list. And it doesn't need to be that. When you care for yourself, you actually are caring for your kids as well. And so we need to practice extra self-care, exercising, sleep, all these things build resilience. So how can you overcome VUCA? And this is where I'm going to go, but I just want to pause right now and check that you guys are all with me. Does anything stand out from what I shared? Does anything make sense? Does anyone have any questions? I'm just going to pause for a couple of seconds and invite some comments or questions right now. Maybe just write down one thing that stands out to you, and if you feel comfortable sharing it, let me know. You can put in the comments box if you like. You guys are quiet today. Okay, well, thank you, Denver. So Tanya said, trying to find a way to navigate parenting as a single mom. Denver says, sorry, Denver, I don't quite understand what Persephone means, but I've neglected myself mostly. Kids always getting prioritized. Yeah, that's so true. Intentional planning for long-term outcomes with our kids. Yeah, you love that. Thank you, Angie. Thanks, Denver. Thanks, Tanya. Yeah. So I think it's real, guys. We neglect ourselves. We give our kids all the attention. So maybe make notes of that and think how you could work through that in the days to come. So how can you overcome a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world? This is where I'm going to get you started. Okay, so a volatile world. Remember, I spoke about the speed of change and how quickly things become volatile. The way to combat that is to have a family vision and know what your family values are. I know we speak about values a lot in the marketplace, but when we start parenting with the end in mind, when we start thinking, what kind of man am I going to raise one day? What kind of husband, father, what kind of mother, what kind of wife will they be one day? It starts with now. So even as a single mom, or with being busy at work and all these pressures on us, you can still parent with your values. If your children are under the age of 12, I really want you to verbalize and externalize your values in your home and decide what they are. And then start parenting with that in mind. Because remember, volatile things change. When children know, hang on, home is a safe space. This is what my family values are. This is where I belong. It just calms things down. So one mom who was on one of my previous webinars said, I don't think we focus enough on values. We want our family to have. I know what they are, but I don't make them visible in my daily lives. So I will focus on building bridges and start focusing on building values intentionally in our family lives. So the tip I want to give you for overcoming VUCA is sit down at home, maybe tonight, and write down what some of your values are and have a conversation with your children or your spouse or someone who you could bounce things off. And then decide what is the first step you can take to practice them intentionally. So for example, if integrity is a family value, how do you communicate that to your children? How do you help them do things, the right thing, even when no one is seeing? And that could be a wonderful conversation around the dinner table. But think about values, think about how you can practice them. And actually go away, even now as I'm talking, you might think, well, Mans, I'm not sure what my values are. I can help you just at the end. I'm going to give you a chance to book an appointment with me. I can help you figure out what your family values are and how to communicate that to your children. Secondly, uncertainty. So we have 9 minutes to go, guys. So uncertainty. The way to combat that is to grow your understanding. Remember in the beginning, I spoke about discerning the times, knowing the season we're living in. So understand what the world is like. What's happening in South Africa, in the US, in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East. Understand the world your children are living in, how they're navigating the social, digital world and social media. How are they straddling these worlds? Your kids are all digital natives. It's the World Wide Web flows through their veins. I don't know how old you guys are, but for me, my generation is called digital pioneers. And so it's just the way we view social media is very different. One thing that you could do is start to implement digital boundaries in your home, perhaps do a digital sunset, but as you have an understanding of the world you're living in, you can parent a little differently. And so, create a safe space. I think more and more we need to realize that our children need a safe space. They need a place where they can come home to and things are not so scary for them at home, where they know they feel safe, they feel like nothing can shock them. And I think that's really, really important, that your children need to be unshockable, when your kids share news with you. Third, in the complex world, how to overcome VUCA is complexity. So we can't go back to the way things were, and we don't necessarily want to go back. But how can you have clarity in your parenting, in your decision making? How can you correct your children, guide them, help them grow confidence? You see, I'm using all these C's. And so with complexity theory and the complexity science, we need some clarity. And so think about what battles, this is not for you for the C under VUCA to overcome it, is think about what battles you will fight in your home. How can you parent with consistency? What are the things you're going to stand for? And again, this is where intentional parenting comes in. It's all around fear-driven versus love-based parenting. And I've actually been thinking about doing a talk on that, about fear-based versus love-based parenting, because they're totally different. Psychologists have proven that fear and love can't coexist in the same space in our brains. And so how do we parent intentionally in that way? The A under VUCA stands for ambiguity. And because everything is more open to more than one type of interpretation, we need to also learn how to adapt. So it doesn't mean we accept everything that we're hearing. We need a lot of discernment, and we need to know what works and what doesn't work, but we need to be adaptable. So as our children grow, we have to adapt through the different ages and stages. So in a world where everything is ambiguous and uncertain, as we learn to adapt and we work on our approach to learning and growing, because parenting is a learning journey as well. It's not something that I think, great parents are born. I think they're made. I think it's through effort and intentionality. So how can you adapt in a world where things are ambiguous is adapt through their ages and stages, and then be clear on your family's way of doing things. So every family kind of has their own culture, their own way of doing things. It's not bad, it's just different. Different is sometimes just different. And so, for example, our surname is Hart, as you know. So in our home, we often say, you're a Hart. The Hart family does this. We have hospitality as one of our values. And so we intentionally teach our children how to be hospitable when their friends come, and how to adapt, and how to move and say, okay, you've got these type of people here, this is how we do this. You've got these friends here, this is how you react. Your grandparents are here, or your friends from school are here. This is how we adapt, and this is how we show hospitality. And so, but also with learning to adapt, we realize the world is different now. October 2020 is different from October 2019. We cannot be the same and react the same ways to what we did last year, because things are different. The way we do life is different. And so we have to adapt. And that brings things into greater clarity in our home. So I just want to pause here and just maybe ask I've given you a few things on how to overcome a VUCA world. Just to sum up. So V, volatile, we have vision and values. Figure out what they are. And when you do that, you parent intentionally relating to your vision and your family values. The U is for uncertainty, and that's where you grow your understanding. So you create a safe space, you understand the world your children are living in, you intentionally move towards them to build a connection. The C is complexity, and that's parenting with clarity and consistency. So how do you develop that in your home life? And when you realize what the battles are, the things you're going to fight for in your home and the things you're going to let go, it also reduces stress in your home, and it helps with communication. And then the fourth is ambiguity. You fight that with to be adaptable, to not get confused. And so when you put the strategy in place, it moves it all towards intentional parenting. So I'd like you just to write down, what's your one take up from today? What's the one thing that you can parent differently now that you've heard what you've heard? And please, could you put it in the chat box? I'd love to hear from you. What's the one take up? What's the one thing you can change in your family life from having heard today? While you're typing, I'm just going to carry on for the sake of time. So these are just some of the ways that I've shared that you could train yourself and help your children to thrive and to grow in confidence. I think as we bring all of who we are to the parenting table. And so when we adapt and learn and grow, that happens in our home as well. So I just wanted to share just two things while I'm waiting for you guys to finish your comments. Is you can take exactly what I have shared here and use it straight away. And the other thing is, it's all for free. It's, with pleasure. Option 2 is just book a call with me. So here you can go to my website, mandyhart.net /free events. And there's a section there that says book a free call with Mandy. And we can just chat about your family. We can chat about what battles you're facing. And if it works, great that we work together, then that'll be amazing. I'd love to work with you and get to know how I can support you, encourage you in a VUCA world to overcome that and help your children grow in confidence. And then secondly, sorry, I see it just in chat. I just want to see what Angie wrote here while I'm sharing. Clarity of our family values. That would be a good starting point for change. And love-based versus fear-based parenting. Yeah, Angie, I can definitely be in touch with you. So book a call with me and we could actually chat about that. I can definitely help you and encourage you in that one and just get greater clarity on it. Charmaine, family vision and values, not just modeling it, but talking about it and living as a family. Yeah, I mean, that can make a huge difference when you start living that way. The second thing is I run parenting courses. So I just want to give you an offer straight up. It's 50% off at the moment, 1,500 Rand for a 5-week course. It starts on the 20th of October. And if you'd like to join me, I'd love to have you. I only take about 10 parents on the course. It's live. We course correct and we speak directly into where you're at in your parenting. So I just wanted to share that with you so you knew, what your options are. So yeah, Denver, adapting to the ages and not forgetting that. My 6 and 8-year-olds are little adults. Kids are so much more assertive than we were when we kids. Yeah, you're right, Denver. We have to adapt and we have to adjust how we parent. It's a different world that we're raising our kids in. And that's why I think this parenting course will really be an encouragement to any of you. Moms and dads, you're welcome on it. So please feel free to let me know if you'd like to be part of it. I know that it will really, really encourage you and empower you. Angela, understanding the world the kids live in, adapting throughout my parenting journey. Yeah, I think we have to. We have to adapt more than ever. I think what I'm going to do is just type this link in, and then I think there's my website. So you're welcome to hop on there, mandyhart.net, and you can just explore. I have loads of free resources, guys, by the way, on my website as well. Free ebooks, there's information about the parenting course, and book the calendar appointment with me. I'd love for you to be part of it. So yeah, I think if we can parent with vision and values, if we can have clarity, if we can have understanding, we can really reduce the stress in our homes, and we can raise children that can impact the world, that can make a difference in this world. So it's 1:00 on the dot. I'm going to stay on for another 5 minutes or so. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being part of this and giving me your time. I am very, very grateful. And I'm going to send you the free ebook, so please look out for it on your emails. And if you don't receive it, just message me and say, "Hey, Mans, I didn't get that one." So and then I can send it to you. So Tanya, thank you for joining, and I hope that you guys will make a calendar appointment and that I will be able to be in touch with you and speak to you more about how I can encourage you and your family. Thank you, Denver. I appreciate you joining us as well. Angela, thank you. Thanks, Charmaine. Thanks, Tanya. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Marielle, thank you as well for joining us. Have a great afternoon further, everyone.